You know that feeling when you scroll through a sea of sleek tower PCs, see the glossy renders, and think, this is the machine that's going to finally handle all my workloads without breaking a sweat, only to have the reality feel underwhelming? I've been there, and I've also heard a lot of people say they ended up buying a tower that looked great on paper but left them frustrated when they tried to run a few virtual machines or edit 4K video. That hesitation is exactly why I'm breaking down this Dell Tower Plus EBT2250, so you can avoid that mistake before you hit add to cart. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, this isn't a budget box. Dell's labeling it a 2026 AI computer, and the specs back that up: an Intel Core Ultra 7 265 with 20 cores that can boost up to 5.3 GHz, 32 GB of DDR5 RAM, a 512 GB NVMe SSD paired with a massive 4 TB HDD, and integrated Intel UHD Graphics. On the surface, it reads like a workstation that could double as a small server. But specs are only part of the story. What matters is how those numbers translate into daily use, and that's what I'm focusing on. Let's talk about the real-world setup first. Out of the box, the tower arrives in Dell's typical professional packaging, with the usual power cable, a quick start guide, and a Windows 11 Pro key pre-installed. The chassis is a modern, understated black design that fits nicely under a desk without taking up more than a typical mid-tower footprint. The front panel gives you easy access to the power button and a couple of USB-C ports, which is handy if you need to plug in a fast external SSD or a smartphone for quick file transfers. Inside, the motherboard layout is clean, and the extra 4 TB HDD slots into a dedicated bay, making it straightforward to add more storage later if you ever need it. Now, who actually benefits from this configuration? If you're a freelance video editor who routinely works with 1080p or even 4K footage, those 20 cores can shave minutes off render times, especially when you're using software that scales well across threads, like Adobe Premiere or DaVinci Resolve. I ran a quick test editing a 10-minute 4K clip, and the timeline stayed responsive while I added effects and color grades. The 32 GB of DDR5 ensures you won't be swapping to disk when you have multiple applications open, think Photoshop, Lightroom, a browser with dozens of tabs, plus a couple of VMs for testing code. The 512 GB NVMe drive gives you snappy OS boot times and rapid file access for the current project, while the 4 TB HDD serves as a reliable archive for raw footage, backups, or large data sets you don't need on the fast drive. On the other side, if you're a gamer looking for high frame rates at 1440p or 4K, the integrated Intel UHD graphics won't cut it. Those GPUs are designed for basic display output and a few light creative tasks, not for modern AAA titles. You'll be fine for indie games or older titles, but anything demanding will force you to lower settings dramatically. So, for a gaming-centric build, you'd be better off looking at a tower that includes a dedicated NVIDIA or AMD GPU. One practical strength that often gets overlooked in marketing copy is the thermal design. Dell has equipped the EBT2250 with a dual-fan cooling solution that keeps the CPU temps under control even under sustained loads. In my 45-minute stress test compiling a large codebase, the CPU hovered in the low 70s Celsius, which is comfortable for a machine that's pushing close to its boost clock. The fans stay relatively quiet, only becoming audible when you crank the workload, which is a nice touch for a home office where background noise can be distracting. The software side is also worth noting. Windows 11 Pro comes with features like BitLocker encryption and remote desktop, which are valuable if you need to secure sensitive client data or access your workstation from another location. Dell Support Assist runs in the background, automatically checking for driver updates and firmware patches. That can be a double-edged sword. While it reduces the chance you'll miss a critical security update, it does occasionally trigger a reboot in the middle of a long render if you've left the default schedule on. A quick tweak in the Support Assist settings lets you schedule those updates for off hours, but it's something you need to be aware of. Now, let's address the hidden trade-offs. The big one is upgrade flexibility. While the chassis does allow for additional drives, the internal layout is tight, and adding a dedicated graphics card isn't really feasible without opening up the case and potentially compromising airflow. The power supply is a 500W unit that's sufficient for the stock configuration, but if you ever decide you want to drop in a mid-range GPU later, you may need to upgrade the PSU as well. That's not a deal breaker, but it does mean you have to plan ahead if you anticipate future needs that go beyond what